dukkha's, however, are poor or tired, however are poor and tired, they stay, whisper, and sing songs. It is because their mind is pleasant. When the mind is pleasant, the body feels comfortable. That's why Somanasa Vedana is said to arise the mind and affect the body. Another example is that why a person works hard and sweats. He hears the news that he wins the lottery. His mind becomes very pleasant. He also forgets about the tiredness of his body. So it is said that the mind starts it, the body is affected. In the same way, dukkha, painful, and domanassa, mentally painful feeling, should be understood. Dukkha begins in the body first. For example, headache, toothaches, earaches, backaches, or general body pain and discomfort all start in the body. Someone might say, I have a headache and I feel unhappy. Because of the headache, they feel unhappy. This is called kayika dukkha. The body starts the pain and the mind is affected. No one, not even the Buddha, can avoid kayika dukkha. As long as we have a body, we will experience physical pain or discomfort. However, although the Buddha experienced kayika dukkha, unhappiness, domanassa, did not arise in his mind. For ordinary people, when they have kayika dukkha, unhappiness almost always arises. Now, let's look at domanassa. When people eat good food and wear nice clothes happily, but then hear sad news. Sadness arises in the mind, and the body may become weak or faint. In this case, the mind starts the feeling and the body is affected. In our daily life also, various kinds of feeling arise in our mind one after another. Due to carelessness, lobha, greed, arises when we encounter pleasant things, and dosa, aversion, arises when we encounter unpleasant ones. Sometimes lobha arises and sometimes dosa arises. In this way, lobha or dosa gradually becomes stronger by way of asivana condition of repetition. In other words, the Pali sentence states sukhaya vedanaya kama raga nusayo anuseti, meaning if one meets sukha vedana, later sensual desire dana arises in the mind. When we meet such an object giving rise to sukha vedana again, the latest dana arises again. Latest is anusaya that will occur again when it is in suitable conditions. Concerning dana, craving, the Pali phrase anurupan karana labedwa upajati has two meanings. Dana arises because of having an opportunity, suitable condition. Tanha will arise if it gets an opportunity, suitable condition. So, anusaya, latent tendency, is like a future defilement, kilesa. If we experience something once, this mindset will arise again when the same experience happens. For example, if lobha arises once because of seeing a desirable object, then when he sees this desirable object again, lobha will arise again. Similarly, if dosa arises once because of seeing an undesirable object, when he sees this undesirable object again, dosa will arise again. Furthermore, the praise Dukkhaya Vedanaya Patika Nusayo Anuseti means that when one experiences dukkha vedana, painful feeling, latent anger or aversion, dosa arises in the mind. In other words, when suffering appears in the body, latent dosa arises in the mind. When we reject dukkha vedana, painful feeling, it is because latent dosa is underlying that rejection. Similarly, as the phrase Sukhaya Vedanaya Kama Raga Nusayo Anuseti states, when we enjoy Sukha Vedana, pleasant feeling, it is due to the latent tendency of craving, tanha, beneath it. We cannot avoid these conditions if we lack sati and panya. To observe and understand the feelings as they really are, impermanent, suffering and non-self, then tanha, craving, will arise toward pleasant feelings. Dosa, aversion, will arise towards painful feelings, and these differences will arise again. These defilements will arise again and again. If this continues, tanha and dosa will grow stronger and stronger, making it impossible to escape from samsara, the cycle of suffering. In the Paticcasamuppada, the Buddha taught Vedana Paccaya Tanha. Because of feeling, craving arises. But he did not teach Vedana Paccaya Dosa. Because of feeling, hatred arises. Why? It is because he most commonly arises. This does not mean that being dosa, hatred. The Visuddhimagga Tathagata states that certainly tanha, craving, arises more frequently than dosa. Dukhi sukham patiyati. The one who is suffering desires happiness. Sukhi benyopi ichati. The one who is happy desires The poor desire to be rich, and the rich desire to be richer. Inevitably, tanha craving arises more frequently. In another situation, when encountering an undesirable object, dosa, hatred may arise fast, followed by tanha, craving, which seeks to experience a desirable object instead. One wants to replace what is unpleasant with what is pleasant. Therefore, the Buddha said, Vedana Pacaya Tanha. Because of feeling, craving arises more often than hatred. If we do not contemplate Vedana, feeling, both Tanha and Dosa will arise more frequently in our mental continuum. Concerning Adokama Sukha Vedana, it is translated as indifferent feeling, which is difficult to recognize. Adokama Sukha Vedana, Adokama Sukha, Atokaya Masukaya Vedanaya Avijja Anusayo Anuseti. If one does not recognize Atokama Sukha Vedana, latent ignorance, avijja arises in the mind. In other words, being aware of an indifferent feeling is itself caused by latent avijja. All of us experience avijja. Experiencing avijja means that we may not be aware of anything at any given moment. And this unawareness causes avijja to grow stronger. Therefore, we must try to be mindful and aware at all times. Practically, we always experience 3 or 5 kinds of Vedana in our daily lives. For our benefit, the Buddha taught the contemplation of these Vedana in the Mahāsatipaṭṭhāna Sutta as follows. Let's recite together. Katinja pana bhikkhave bhikkhu vedanasu vedananupasi viharati. And how, monks, does a monk draw contemplating feelings as feelings repeatedly? Ida bhikkhave bhikkhu sukha va vedanam vedayamano sukha vedana vedayamiti pajanati. Here, monks, when experiencing a pleasant feeling, a monk understands, I feel a pleasant feeling. Understanding in this way what it means to have sati. Without sati, one might simply think, this movie is good, or this food is delicious, etc. The mind becomes attached to the object that brings satisfaction, while failing to recognize the essential aspect, the Vedana feeling that arises. Therefore, the Buddha taught Sukha va vedana vedayamano Sukha vedana vedayamiti pajanati. One feeling, a pleasant feeling, one understand, I feel a pleasant feeling. Being aware of the feeling is panya atwat, and being mindful of the feeling is sati atwat. The aforementioned Vedana is classified into 3 types and 5 types in Abhidhamma, but in the Mahāsatipaṭṭhāna Sutta, the Buddha mentioned Vedana as 9 kinds. What are the 9 Vedanas? They are 3 Vedana, Sukha, pleasant feeling, Dukkha, painful feeling, and Adukkhama Sukha, neither pleasant or nor painful feeling. Each classified into 2 categories, Samisa and Niramisa. Samisa means worldly, related to sensual pleasure. Niramisa means non-worldly, related to spirituality. Therefore, Sukha Vedana is divided into Samisa and Niramisa. Dukkha Vedana is also divided into Samisa and Niramisa. Adukkhama Sukha Vedana is likewise divided into Samisa and Niramisa. In other words, there are 3 kinds of Vedana associated with Samisa, 3 associated with Niramisa, and the remaining 3 are the general classification, Sukha, Dukkha, and Adukkhama Sukha. In brief, they are as thus Sukha Vedana, pleasant feeling, Dukkha Vedana, painful feeling, Adukkhama Sukha Vedana, neutral feeling or neither pleasant nor painful feeling. Samisa Sukha, sensual, pleasant feeling, Niramisa Sukha, spiritual, pleasant feeling, Samisa Dukkha, sensual, painful feeling, Niramisa Dukkha, spiritual, painful feeling, Samisa Adukkhama Sukha, sensual, neither pleasant nor painful feeling. Niramisa Adukkhama Sukha, spiritual, neither pleasant nor painful feeling. Therefore, the Buddha mentioned in the Mahāsatipaṭṭhāna Sutta a total of 9 kinds of Vedana to be contemplated under Vedana-nupassana, the contemplation of feeling. The first 3 kinds of Vedana are to be contemplated generally without further classification. Then, sensual pleasant feeling, Sukha Vedana, is called Samisa, related to worldly matters, while spiritual pleasant feeling is called Niramisa, related to Dhamma, meditation, etc. The same classification applies to sensual painful feelings. Dukkha Vedana is Samisa, related to worldly, and spiritual painful feeling is Niramisa, related to Dhamma or meditation. Neutral feeling, Adukkhama Sukha Vedana, is also divided in the same way into Adukkhama Sukha Samisa and Adukkhama Sukha Niramisa. When experiencing a pleasant feeling, we need to recognize, I feel a pleasant feeling. When experiencing a painful feeling, we need to acknowledge, I feel painful feeling. Simply put, in the present moment, we should just be aware of what we are feeling. From an analytical perspective, the present moment occurs when a later citta knows the former citta. The same citta cannot know itself. Citta arise one after another. The former citta can only be known by the later citta. Just as the tip of a finger cannot touch itself, the same citta cannot observe itself. Therefore, it is only the succeeding citta that can be aware of the preceding one. However, in a general or practical sense, when we experience a pleasant feeling, we should recognize it immediately and clearly by knowing, I feel a pleasant feeling. Let's see the Pali. Recite together. Dukkha wa vedana vedaya mano. Dukkha vedana vedaya miti pajanati. One feeling a painful feeling, he understands, I feel a painful feeling. Adokha masukha va vedana vedaya mano. Adokha masukha vedana vedayamiti bhajanati. One feeling a neither pleasant nor painful feeling, he understands, I feel a neither pleasant nor painful feeling. Sami samva sukha vedana vedayamano. Sami san sukha vedana vedayamiti bhajanati. One feeling a sensual pleasant feeling, he understands, I feel a sensual pleasant feeling. Niramisa wa sukha. Niramisa wa sukha vedana vedayamano. Niramisa sukha vedana vedayamiti bhajanati. One feeling a spiritual pleasant feeling, he understands, I feel a spiritual pleasant feeling. Sami samva dukkha vedana vedayamano. Sami san dukkha vedana vedayamiti bhajanati. One feeling a sensual painful feeling, he understands, I feel a sensual painful feeling. Niramisa wa dukkha vedana vedayamano. Niramisa dukkha vedana vedayamiti bhajanati. One feeling a spiritual painful feeling, he understands, I feel a spiritual painful feeling. Sami sawa adokha masukha vedana vedayamano. Sami sa adokha masukha vedana vedayamiti bhajanati. One feeling a sensual, neither pleasant nor painful feeling, he understands, I feel a sensual, neither pleasant nor painful feeling. Niramisa wa adokha masukha vedana vedayamano. Niramisa adokha masukha vedana vidyamiti pajanati. One feeling, a spiritual, neither pleasant nor painful feeling, he understands. I feel a spiritual, neither pleasant nor painful feeling. One knowing in this way, who is it that feels? The commentary explains that I feel is merely conventional usage. The term I actually refers to Vedana. Only Vedana feels. There is no individual or self who experiences the feeling, only the process of Vedana occurring in that moment. We must understand that the Buddha's teaching is extremely subtle and profound. Therefore, only when we contemplate Dhamma with strong sati, mindfulness, and strong jnana wisdom can we clearly understand the true nature of Dhamma. However, because of the quality of the Dhamma, Sandaitika, to be seen here and now, anyone can come to realize the nature of Dhamma through dedicated practice. Who feels it? Vedana feels. Whose Vedana? There is no one, no person or being, so it is the nature of Dhamma. Why is it feel? Why is it fed? It is because of the meeting of the object and the sense of the sense base. To clearly see the nature of Dhamma, the Buddha preached to contemplate Vedananupassana, the contemplation of feeling. The Abhidhammadika says, Kamasa karago nati, vipakasacha vidago. Sutta Dhamma Pavatanti, Itedam Samadasana. The meaning is that there is no doer of karma. Simply put, there is no person or being who creates feeling. There is no one who suffers the result. Only the nature of Dhamma exists. The arising cause is called the making of karma, and the arising result is called the experiencing of the karma result. Because of the cause, the result comes into being. Only the nature of Dhamma exists. There is no involvement of any person or being. This is the right view. Therefore, who feels the feeling? Vedana feels. This indicates the arising of Vedana. Because a base with two mix an object, Vedana arises. To clearly see this nature of Dhamma, the Buddha taught the contemplation of Vedananupassana, contemplation of feeling. Vedana is very important to understand because it can cause Tanha, craving, to arise. If Tanha arises, it leads to dukkha, suffering. Why? Recite together. Vedana Pacaya Tanha, Tanha Pacaya Upadana, Upadana Pacaya Bhavo, Bhava Pacaya Jati, Jati Pacaya Jaramarana, Soka Prideva, Dukkha Domana Supayasa Sambhavanti. Ewami tassa kevalasa dukkha khandasa samudayo hoti. The meaning is that because of feeling, craving arises. Because of craving, clinging arises. Because of clinging, coming into existence arises. Because of coming into existence, birth arises, and because of birth, aging and death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair arise. Thus is the arising of this whole mass of suffering. In this way, the cycle of paticca dependent origination, rotates again. If we want to stop dukkha, we must prevent tanha from arising. When tanha arises, dukkha certainly follows. Therefore, while experiencing a feeling, simply recognize whether it is a pleasant feeling, a painful feeling, or neither pleasant nor painful feeling. After recognizing this, the next step is practicing vipassana is iti ajatawa vedanasu vedananupasi viharati Pahedawa vedanasu vedananupasi viharati Ajata Pahedawa vedanasu vedananupasi viharati Samudaya dhammanupasi va Vedanasu viharati Vayadhammanupasiva Vedanasu viharati Samudaya Vayadhammanupasiva Vedanasu viharati. In this way, he draws contemplating the feelings as feeling internally, or he draws contemplating the feelings as feelings externally, or he draws contemplating the feelings as feeling both internally and externally. So too, he draws contemplating the nature of arising in feelings, or he draws contemplating the nature of passing away in feelings, or he draws contemplating the nature of both arising and passing away in feelings. By doing so, the vipassana jnana becomes stronger and ati vedanati vapanasa sati pachupatita hoti yava deva jnana mataya pati sati mataya anisitoja viharati naja kenji loke upadiyati evam bhikho bhikkhave bhikkhu kai vedanasu vedananupasi viharati. Moreover, his mindfulness is established with the thought there is only feeling. Such mindfulness serves to develop further knowledge and awareness. He draws independent and without being attached to anything in this world. Thus, two monks is how a monk draws contemplating feeling as feeling. The contemplation of Vedana with sati and jnana, mindfulness and wisdom is called Vedananupassana Satipaṭṭhāna, contemplation of feelings. Regarding Vedananupassana, the Buddha also taught about it in the Santagavesi Sutta. Feelings, Vedana, arise one after another. One sukha, pleasant feeling arises. Dukkha, unpleasant or painful feeling cannot arise. When dukkha arises, sukha cannot arise. Neither sukha alone nor dukkha alone arises. They arise depending on corresponding causes, which is called paticcasamuppada, dependent origination. In other words, feelings are sankhata or sappajjaya, produced by cause. Because they depend on causes, they have kaya dhamma or vaya dhamma, the nature of impermanent or disappearance. When one sees that everything is impermanent, vipassana jnana, insight knowledge, develops, and the mind becomes completely free from attachment. Therefore, the Buddha taught that practicing strong mindfulness sati on feelings in daily life sharpen insight jnana and eventually leads to anupada vimokha, release from all attachment and resistance. Kaya Nupassana and Vedana Nupassana have been explained. Now let's go to Citta Nupassana, contemplation of the mind. In our continuum, the mind, which knows various kinds of objects, arises continuously at all times. Beginning with the Patisandhi Citta, rebirth linking consciousness in one's life within samsara. Then mental sequence or continuum arises continuously, depending on objects and bases. With these conditions, that is all the contributing factors, the mind arises. Therefore, we should practice to be aware of it. People often say about their mind that my mind is not clear today, my mind is clear today, or I am angry today, etc. Although people speak about their minds in this way, they do not truly observe or understand the nature of the mind. We may think that mind, which has arisen since our birth, is eternal. We may think that not only the mind, but also the river is eternal. This is because The river flows continuously. 10 years ago, it was flowing. Yesterday, it was flowing. And today, it is still flowing. Seeing this continuous flow, we may assume that the river is permanent. Likewise, without sati, mindfulness, it is not easy to recognize the impermanence of the mind. Why is it not easily known? Because the mind arises and perishes extremely rapidly. How fast does it arise? It arises and ceases more than 1,000 billion times in 1 second. The Buddha said, Lahu parivutan called Citta. Indeed, the mind arises and changes very rapidly. It is even difficult to give an appropriate example for it. Because it is constantly changing, it is hard to understand the nature of the mind with ordinary sati mindfulness. When the mind knows the mind, actually the later mind knows the former one. Just at the tip of a forefinger cannot touch the tip of itself. Likewise, the mind cannot know itself at the same moment. The former mind can only be known by the mind that arises after it. Practicing to recognize the former mind with the later mind is called Citta-nupassana, contemplation of the mind. If we live carelessly, we won't be able to observe the former mind with the later. If we fail to observe the mind properly, wrong thoughts can arise. And when wrong thoughts arise, attachments, aversions, and other defilements follow. The moment we fail to observe correctly, problems naturally follow. This is the nature of realities. The Buddha preached in one sutta of the Samyutta Nikaya that a Puthujjana, worldly person, who lacks Dhamma knowledge assumes that the mind is permanent and eternal. The Buddha stated that it is better to assume the body is permanent and eternal than to assume the mind is so. Although the word better is used here, it does not imply that the body is truly permanent or eternal. So why does the text say it is better to assume the body is permanent? It is because the body continues to exist for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, even 60 years after birth. Moreover, it is clearly inappropriate to regard the mind as permanent. Why? Because the mind arises and perishes incredible rapidity. The Buddha gave an example. The mind is like a monkey staying in a forest tree. The monkey never remains still. After holding one branch, it lets go and grabs another. It moves from branch to branch and from one tree to another. In the same way, the mind constantly shifts from one object to another. This continuous change makes it clear that the mind is impermanent. The Buddha taught Cittanupassana, the contemplation of mind, to observe the wrong view that assume the mind is permanent. Let's consider the nature of the mind, citta. As stated, Aramana Vijanana Lakhanam Citta. The characteristic of citta mind is knowing the object. We should understand citta by examining its characteristic. All Dhamma possess specific characteristics. Human beings, for example, have both universal or common characteristics and individual characteristics. The common characteristics of human beings include having a head between two shoulders, having two hands and two legs, and walking upright. Besides having those common characteristics, each person also has individual characteristics. For example, some people are fair-skinned, some are dark-skinned, some are tall, others are short. Some have thick eyebrows, others have thin ones. Some have mustaches, while others do not. Some have scars, others do not. These are examples of the unique features that distinguish individuals. All Dhamma have two characteristics, Sabhava Lakkhana and Samanya Lakkhana. Sabhava Lakkhana means individual characteristic, while Samanya Lakkhana means general or common or universal characteristic. For example, Phassa has the characteristic of making contact between the object and the mind. Vedana has the characteristic of experiencing the taste or quality of the object. Sanya has the characteristic of recognizing and noting the quality of the object. These are individual characteristics. Phassa, Vedana, Sanya, and other Dhammas also share the characteristics of impermanent, anicca, suffering, dukkha, and non-self, anatta. These are the common characteristics. In Vipassana practice, one must first focus on the individual characteristic, Sabhava Lakkhana. Without understanding these, it is impossible to clearly perceive the arising and disappearing of phenomena, which are expression of the common characteristic, Sabhava Lakkhana. if the arising and disappearing phenomena are known merely through thinking, this is only imagination. One cannot truly realize Satchikata Paramattha, the true nature of ultimate reality, without this direct realization. Without this direct realization, Vipassana Jnana, insight knowledge, has not yet arisen. Sorry, this is delay. Real Vipassana means truly seeing things as they actually occur, seeing things as they really are. It also means directly seeing the ultimate reality, Paramattha. Thinking is not real seeing, it is only imagination. Some paintings are created from imagination, but a photograph is not imagination, it captures reality. In the same way, knowing Paramattha means directly knowing reality itself. Therefore, if one is going to practice Vipassana, he observes Rupa and Nama, or observes Phassa, Vedana, and so on. How should he observe Phassa, Vedana, etc.? He must see their individual characteristics. When he sees Phassa, he perceives its nature of touching both the mind and the object. This is knowing Phassa from the perspective of its individual characteristics. When he sees Vedana, he perceives its nature of experiencing the taste of the object. When he sees Sanya, he perceives its nature of noting the quality of the object. When he sees Nama, he perceives its nature of inclining toward the object. For example, someone is sitting quietly alone in the house. When a sound suddenly occurs in the house, his mind immediately turns to the place where the sound comes from. The mind moves from one object to another, first to this object, then to that object. While watching television, the mind may wander to an event from yesterday or an event last year. The mind can move to the past as well as to the future. Time is over. Let me stop my explanation here for today. Please share our merit. Please share our merit today we have done to all living beings by reciting Idame Punya. Recite together. Idame Punya Asawakaya Vahang Hotu Idame Punya Nibbanasa Pachayo Hotu Mama Punya Bhaga Sapasadana Pajimi Te Sabe Me Sama Punya Bhaga Labantu Sadhu Sadhu Sadhu